Oh, honey, do you know how simple it is to turn us on? Not with money, not with looks, but with touch. Because when a man truly understands how to touch a woman, everything changes. Her body listens, her breath slows, her mind stops running. And in that moment, she feels something deeper than arousal. She feels safe. She feels seen. So listen carefully because by the end of this video, I want you to feel like that man. The one who walks into the room calm and sure of himself. The one who doesn't chase, doesn't rush, doesn't ask for permission to lead because his energy already says, I know what I'm doing. And when you touch her, she knows too. You know exactly how to move, where to touch, and what rhythm makes her body respond almost automatically without a word. That's not luck, that's mastery. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. But first, take 1 second. Subscribe to Kelly Facts because here I teach you the language that words can't express, how to read emotions, how to unlock attraction, and how to command desire with your presence alone. If you like videos that dive deep into human behavior, love, and seduction, this channel is for you. Now, let's talk about what you came here for. The most sensitive spots to touch a woman.
1. The power of the inner thighs. One of the most powerful, most electrifying areas of a woman's body is right between her legs, but not where most men think. I'm not talking about the obvious spots, I'm talking about in between the soft inner thighs, that area where desire lives quietly, where her body becomes hypersensitive to even the gentlest touch. When you touch her there, you're not just triggering her body, you're activating her mind. That's what most men miss. They touch without intention. They move too fast. They try to perform. But a man who knows how to touch moves slow. He uses the tips of his fingers like an artist. He doesn't grab her. He guides her. He moves gently, tracing small teasing circles with just his fingertips, like a whisper across her skin. Try this. Run your fingers along her arms slowly. Now imagine that same softness, but between her thighs. The warmth, the closeness, the anticipation. That's where the magic begins. Because when you do that, her mind starts to fill in the blanks. You're not even touching her fully, yet her imagination does the work for you. That's not physical stimulation, that's psychological arousal. And babe, when you understand this kind of power, you become unforgettable. 2. Why gentle touch works better than force. See, the skin between her thighs is filled with tiny nerve endings, thousands of them, that connect directly to the emotional center of her brain. That means every light touch sends a spark straight to her nervous system. But here's the secret. If you go too hard too soon, she shuts down. The body tenses, the mind disconnects. So the key isn't strength, it's patience. You're not trying to take something from her, you're helping her let go. When your touch says, "You're safe with me," her body opens. Her walls come down, her breath softens, and that's when she feels true desire. Not forced, not faked, but real. I know it sounds almost too simple, but sometimes the most powerful moments come from the smallest movements, and I want you to feel that confidence, that quiet power, the kind that makes her melt before you even say a word. 3. The Bali memory. When touch speaks louder than words. You know, it reminds me of something that used to happen when I lived in Bali, Indonesia. If you've ever been there, you know the streets are filled with motorbikes. It's the fastest way to get anywhere.
I remember sitting on the back of a guy's bike once, my hands on his shoulders, the warm air brushing past us, the scent of rain in the wind. And suddenly he reached back, not in a suggestive way, not with any pressure, but simply to rest his hand gently on my calf. Just a soft, reassuring gesture. His fingers moved lightly, more like a steady, calming touch than anything else. And in that moment, something shifted. It was not just physical, it was emotional. That touch said, "You are safe with me." It was grounding and warm at the same time. It made me feel protected, seen, and completely at ease. That is what true masculine energy feels like: calm, steady, present, not desperate, not performative, just centered. And presence is magnetic. When a woman feels that from you, that blend of safety and confidence, she will remember it because you did not just reach for her, you reached into the moment with her. When you touch a woman with intention, not intensity, you are not just making contact. You are communicating in a language her emotions respond to instantly. Touch, when done respectfully and gently, becomes a form of emotional expression. It bypasses overthinking and speaks directly to her sense of connection. Because real connection is not verbal, it is energetic. Her body picks up on your tone before her mind does. The moment she feels your hand move with calm, deliberate care, something in her shifts. If you are steady, she relaxes. If you are tense, she notices. That is why the art of touch is really the art of emotional stability. Your calm creates her comfort. Your intention sets the pace. Now, let us talk about one of the most sensitive and often underestimated areas. 4, the neck. Not in an intense way, but in a mindful and gentle way. The neck is where emotion and trust meet. It is open, expressive, and connected to so many of her emotional signals. When you touch her neck softly, like brushing the back of your fingers along the side, you are saying without words, it is okay to exhale now. Don't grab, don't squeeze, just trace. Move slow enough that she can feel the warmth of your hand before she feels the pressure. Then, when she leans in, and she will, let your lips follow the path your fingers just drew. A kiss that lingers half a second longer than she expects. A soft exhale against her skin. That's what makes her body light up. Because the neck is more than an erogenous zone, it's a trigger for emotional memory. It tells her mind, someone desires me but also protects me. It's that delicate balance, strength, and softness that awakens the deepest kind of feminine response. Even the back of the neck, the spot where her hairline meets her spine, is wired with sensitivity. Run your fingertips there and you'll feel her shiver. That's not coincidence. That's evolution. Thousands of nerve endings meet there, right where instinct and emotion collide. And here's the secret, babe. You don't need to say a word. When you touch her neck with calm confidence, she feels it in her heartbeat. Her breathing syncs with yours. You become rhythm, safety, dominance, all at once. 5. Why this works. The psychology behind surrender. You might be wondering why these spots, the thighs, the neck, matter so much. Here's the truth. They're gateways. They lead her out of her head and back into her body. Most women today live in mental overdrive. They're thinkers, planners, protectors. They carry stress in their shoulders and tension in their breath. They've learned to control everything, including emotion. But when you touch her slowly, deliberately, you interrupt that control. You remind her what it feels like to feel. You reawaken her natural rhythm, feminine softness, emotional flow, deep sensation. That's why this isn't just about pleasure. It's about power. The power to calm her chaos. The power to remind her body that it's safe to surrender. That's the difference between a man who chases reaction and a man who commands response. And babe, that's what makes you unforgettable. When she feels that from you, the steadiness, the presence, the care, she'll never mistake it for just another touch. Because what you're really touching is her trust. Every woman's body holds memories. Some of those memories are safe, others are guarded. So when your hands find her skin, you're not just exploring her body, you're reteaching her nervous system what safety feels like. That's why the way you touch matters more than where. Your energy either tells her, you can trust me, or protect yourself. And the truth is, a woman can feel that before you ever say a word. Your calm, her calm. Your pace, her permission. Your control, her surrender. This is what real masculinity is. Direction without pressure. Certainty without aggression. When she senses that from you, her body starts to relax. And that's when arousal begins. Because arousal isn't a reaction you take. It's a response you earn through presence. 6th, turning presence into power. When you enter a room, your energy should speak first. Not loud, not arrogant, but grounded. The kind of presence that says, I know who I am and I know what I'm doing. That's the same energy you bring to touch. Before you even reach for her, breathe slowly. Slow your heartbeat because she will match it. Let your hands rest for a moment before they move. Let her feel the stillness, the intention. That single moment of waiting is psychological dominance. You're showing that you don't chase sensation, you create it. It's paradoxical, right? The slower you go, the faster her mind races. The less you do, the more she feels. Because women are wired to respond to anticipation, not speed. Every second she's waiting is another second her imagination does the work for you. That's how you build tension, and tension is desire. 7th, position and direction, the unspoken language of confidence. Now here's where most men lose the magic. They forget that how you move her body matters as much as how you touch it. When you guide her, gently shifting her hips, turning her face, adjusting her shoulders, you're not just moving her, you're leading her. And that's where the psychological polarity between masculine and feminine lives. The feminine wants to be led, not controlled, by energy that feels safe and certain. The masculine wants to lead, not to dominate, but to direct. So when you place her hand where you want it, when you move her into position without hesitation, you're communicating more than words ever could. You're saying, "You can trust my direction." That's why women remember the men who move them with confidence. Because confidence translates as competence. Competence translates as safety. And safety, that's the doorway to surrender. 8. When desire becomes permission. Let's talk about something that men rarely hear enough of. Your desires matter. Your hunger, your attraction, your need to connect physically. Those aren't flaws, they're instincts. For years, men have been told to tone it down, to apologize for wanting. But babe, listen. You don't have to apologize for being human. It's not your desire that scares women. It's uncontrolled, ungrounded energy. When you own your desire without rushing it, when you hold it, contain it, that's when it becomes irresistible. Say it right now quietly to yourself. My desires are important. Say it again, because they are. They matter. You matter. When you accept that, your energy changes. You stop trying to prove your worth and start radiating it. That's when women feel you. Not as another guy trying to get something, but as a man who already has something. Ninth, the alchemy of touch. Now imagine this, your fingertips brushing her neck the same way we talked about earlier. Slow, deliberate, patient. She tilts her head, eyes close. And that's the moment everything in her body says yes. Because it's never been about the action, it's about the energy behind it. You've turned physical contact into psychological connection. That's not seduction, that's alchemy. The art of transforming a simple touch into emotion, emotion into trust, and trust into desire. That's the secret most men never learn, but you're learning it now. And that, babe, is why your touch matters more than your words, your looks, or even your status. Because when you master this, you master the space between minds, the space where attraction stops being random and starts being inevitable. Every touch, every breath, every pause we've talked about leads here. The moment when connection turns into chemistry and chemistry turns into control. Not the kind of control that cages someone, but the kind that frees them to feel. When you master touch, you master emotion. Because touch isn't about your hands, it's about your awareness. You begin to notice the tiny details. The shift in her breathing, the way her shoulders drop when she finally relaxes, the faint tremor in her voice when she's no longer hiding what she feels. That's emotional dominance. It's not loud. It's not forced. It's quiet authority. The kind that makes her lean closer without realizing why. 10. How to build that dominance. 1. Stay present. Most men rush to the next move. Don't. When you stay exactly where you are, one hand on her thigh, her pulse under your thumb, you tell her, I'm not chasing the moment. I am the moment. 2. Match her energy, then lead. If she's nervous, lower your tone. If she's playful, mirror it, then slowly guide the rhythm toward calm intensity. This micro leadership is what turns physical chemistry into emotional gravity. 3. Control your breath. Your breathing is the metronome of the interaction. Slow breathing slows her mind. Every exhale tells her subconscious, you're safe. 4. Mean every touch. Never touch from habit, touch with purpose. When your hand moves, it should carry intention, not uncertainty. 11. Turning her mind into memory. Remember, what she'll replay later isn't what you did. It's what she felt. That flash of safety mixed with danger. The warmth of your hand against her skin. The sound of your voice saying nothing and still saying everything. That becomes memory. And memory becomes obsession. You don't create obsession through words. You create it through repetition of emotional states. When every encounter with you feels like grounding, desire, and trust at once, her body starts craving your presence like oxygen. That's why even when you're gone, she'll still feel you in her body, in her thoughts, in the quiet between her breaths. 12, your masculine responsibility. With power comes responsibility, because when you learn how to awaken someone emotionally, you're holding real influence. And influence is sacred. Never use this to manipulate. Use it to heal. Use it to remind someone what it feels like to be seen, touched, and understood. That's the highest form of masculine energy. Not domination, but direction. A true man doesn't chase attention. He builds connection. He doesn't demand surrender. He earns it through steadiness, empathy, and presence. 13, final affirmation. Owning your desires. Say it with me one more time. My desires are important. Because they are. Your desire is not something to hide. It's a compass pointing you toward connection. When you own it with integrity, women feel it as warmth, not threat. That's what makes your touch magnetic and your presence unforgettable. So, the next time you find yourself beside her, whether it's your wife, your lover, or someone new, don't overthink it. Just breathe, be still. Let your fingertips speak the language that words can't translate. Touch her mind through her body, guide her body through your calm, and let the silence between you become its own conversation. This is Kelly Facts, where we uncover the invisible rules of attraction, emotion, and influence. If you felt this message resonate, hit that like button. It tells YouTube you want more of the real stuff. Subscribe for the next deep dive into human desire and the psychology of connection. Because understanding people isn't manipulation, it's mastery. I'm Kelly, and I'll see you in the next video.